All right, folks, we are live here on a very, very exciting match if you're joining for the first time. This is the 2012 North American Championship here at Cary, North Carolina, at the Bond Park Community Center. This is Mike Babuin here, and I'm joined by Hall of Famer and past USATT President Jim McQueen. Jim, welcome.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. This ought to be a good match. Jim Butler, kind of on the second stretch of his career, was a top-level national player several years ago and has come back and making another run at some of the big tournaments. Very competitive, playing Xavier Therien from Canada in a quarterfinal match.
Yep, and Xavier is actually the number 2 seed in the draw here. So Butler's got his hands full right now with this very, very good player from Canada. As you've said, you know, Butler not only at one point in his career when he was younger, #1 player in America, had a world ranking, I believe, under the top 20 or 25. You know, had probably the best backhand in North America for a decade at one point. Now he's coming back out of retirement after about a 12-year hiatus. He showed up at the Cary Cup in March, and here we are again in Cary at the North American Championship.
We've got a little bit of youth versus experience here. The Canadian is a very experienced international player as well. So we'll just see how youth versus experience plays out here. Right now, Butler serving down a point, 2-3. You'll see Butler using a strategy there, trying to keep the ball into Therien's body to make him make a choice to move left for a forehand or move right for a backhand. That jamming the middle is usually a pretty good strategy for most players.
That must be the case, because when I play, I know people try that strategy with me, and all they have to do is hit it anywhere over the net, and they're hitting it into my body.
You're a wide body, that's for certain.
What can you say?
Good service return there by Butler. Just like in tennis and table tennis, you're always trying to hold your own serve, or if you're receiving, you're trying to break serve to get a little bit of an advantage.
Oh, he's trying to go down the line. It just didn't quite work.
That strategy played well. He played into Therien's body. He was way over to the left side of the table, got across court, and Jimmy tried to snap that ball down the line to the open court and just barely caught the top of the net and missed. Oh, that one's way out of here.
Yep.
A high lob landed a little shallow on the table, and Jimmy did what we call tomahawked it way wide with side spin. They were using the whole court. I think Therien got even off camera. It was so far away. And it's taken that long for the crowd to find and retrieve the ball. Jimmy hit it so far out. And Jimmy down 4-5, trying to hold his serve and draw it to a tie, which he does. Again, quick serve into the body. Therien not quite quick enough to move around and loop it.
Wow.
It's a good backhand exchange. Therien's the first one that opened up a forehand, but it didn't end up paying off that time. And again, exchanging backhands with Jim Butler is usually a losing proposition.
Yeah. I think this must be the first time these two players have ever faced each other, though. You know, considering the long length of time Butler's been out of competition, you know?
Right.
And the fact that the other one's Canadian. They just haven't had the opportunity to play each other.
Well, they may be doing a little bit of feeling out of each other at this time. And the score is 7-5 right now. Players are allowed to towel off every 6 points, so they'll take the opportunity to pace around and stall a little bit while they towel off.
Wow. Point
Good
for
movement
Butler.
around the table. Therien backing up, trying to get some big shots in with that big stroke of his, a loop forehand and backhand. Butler crowding the table a little bit, trying to figure out an angle to block Therien out of position. And so far, Jim's doing pretty good, up 8-5, serving now. Usually, most players are going to try to serve short and keep the ball low, but occasionally you'll drive one really fast into the other player's body, trying to catch him off guard, hugging the table a little too closely.
Well, and Butler does that a lot, too. It surprises me. He goes to that long, deep, fast serve more times than not, which really surprises me. What surprises me even more is he got the point off of it.
Right. Well, I think Jimmy's a very smart, savvy player, well aware of ball position. I played Jimmy once years and years ago, and his serves would just jump 3 different directions as they're coming over the net. It's very difficult to see from a long camera view, but they are very tricky, very well placed to get you cross just your hands out of position.
Look at that. It's the first game. How about that for the veteran?
And between games, players get to go talk to their coaches for a minute or two, towel off, get some strategy, some changes. And we think.
And Jim Butler being coached by his older brother, Scott Butler, also no slouch to table tennis. One of the top juniors back in the late 1980s. Actually, I believe Scott won the World Junior Challenge in 1989 or so. Long time back.
That was a while back, but they're both very good, solid players. Played a lot of doubles together over the years. And they're both back competing a little bit now. Jim, I think, at a higher level than Scott. Scott's a banking executive. Jim Butler does, I think, physical therapy work down in Texas. And Jim Butler got inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year. And I think...
along with somebody else.
Oh, yours truly.
That's right.
That's true. Jim got inducted as a player and myself as a contributor to the sport. So it takes all kinds. I played a lot, but not nearly at the level of these players that we're watching today. And I think that rejuvenated Jim's interest in table tennis a little bit and came back, get a little bit of exercise, take another shot at competition. And so far, he's been very successful at it. So we're getting ready for the second game here. Jim Butler taking the first one, moving the ball around well, changing up the spin. Therien's top spins, forehand and backhand, don't seem to be quite as consistent, and I think that has a lot to do with Jimmy's experience at placing the ball to very awkward spots for his opponent. We'll see if Therien can figure out that strategy, or if he changes anything to his advantage in this game too.
Well, that's the thing, at Jimmy's point of his career, he's been there and done it on just about every angle you can think of. He's been at ITTF events, other countries, challenges everywhere you could think of. So this doesn't really have that much pressure for him at all. If anything, it's anti-pressure. What does he have to prove at his age?
Well, nothing much. But wins are always good, and I'm sure everybody's trying very hard, but there's not the intense pressure on him for world ranking and that sort of thing, certainly now. Jim just barely missing that backhand counter. And Therien holding his first 2 serves to take a 2-0 lead. Jim serving right now. Get a little bit of look at his close-up of his service action.
Makes you wonder if Therien is thinking to himself, a little bit of an intimidation factor, because he's playing Jim Butler. He doesn't really know anything about him. He's never played against him. He knows who he is and what he's done. Makes you wonder. I guess you got to get over that, though, at this level.
Well, the same thing.
Play the game.
Jim hasn't played Therien either, so it's a little bit new for both of them. We just have to wait and see if Jim's experience with that kind of thing more over the years is going to pay off or not.
Nice rally by both.
Yeah, good top spin exchange. Therien leading 3-2 with the serve. Therien opening up some offense now, getting Jim a little bit on the defensive, having to block the balls, and doesn't quite give him enough time to counter loop the ball, so you just have to hold your racket out and guide it back. And the player taking the first offense like Therien at that point has a chance to reload his position for another top spin. So Therien's being a little more aggressive at this point in the match.
Oh, I missed that loop.
In the game right now, too, with Therien doing all of the heavy top spinning, Jim standing at the table just guiding the ball back. Jim's conserving a little energy, and Therien's the one that's putting out the effort, at least for the last several points.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Makes you wonder, too, at Jim's age, you know, how, from a stamina perspective, again, especially playing this player who's at the level that he's at, you know, he's got to conserve energy. That would be a smart strategy.
Well, it could be a long match. You still want to take
4 out of 7, yeah.
You still want to take aggressive opportunities when you get a chance. But Jim's playing more ball control right now and hoping that Therien may either wear down or start missing his own shots.
Yep. Jim got the net dribbler on that last one. Oh.
Good tricky serve by Therien. We didn't see it, but it was loaded with topspin, and when Jim tried to block the ball back, it jumped up at him and went too long.
Oh.
And there's that.
That's that backhand.
The good long serve into Therien's body. Jim got a little bit of a high return to his backhand, and he just snapped it away.
You don't give the ball high to that backhand. You'll eat it.
I'm not sure exactly how tall Jim is, but he's 6'2" or 3, and you get the ball up high, he can still come down on the ball, which gives you a much better position than having to sort of hit an overhead, especially if the ball lands deep on the table. Score 7-5 for Therien, so that's divisible by 6, so each player took a break at that 6-point interval. And Therien said, my ball touched the net on the way over. Sometimes it's much easier for the players to see that than the umpire, and a player will raise his hand and get the umpire to call for the let.
Surprising that the umpire is actually on that side of the court instead of over here, because, you know, here we have Therien serving the ball. The ump's going to have a hard time seeing what's going on with the racket.
Right.
Then again, we shouldn't complain. We wouldn't be able to see the scoreboard.
Also true.
Yep.
Also true. Some players have a reputation of being a little marginal with their serves, but I think both of these players are pretty straight up and ethical in their serves. The umpire's not concerned about it. If the other player had a complaint, he would certainly raise the issue. So everything seems to be on the up and up in this match at this point.
Well, Xavier just smashed that one down home. 100-mile-an-hour loop drive to the corner to get a 9-5 lead.
And up to game point at 10-5. Therien's acting a little more aggressive this game, and so far it's been working for him. There's another one of those quick backhand, very wristy strokes. Uses a lot of wrist to get a lot of snap into the contact with the ball from the racket. But Therien nicely up now, 10-6.
Yeah. It's a hard road to hoe here, coming back 4 points.
And there you go, a little too aggressive on the serve, but no use to waste any more energy on that game than you have to. So
what do you think Jim Butler's got to do here, Jim, to overcome the juggernaut of Xavier Therien? I mean, Therien is such a all-around, well-placed position player. He does everything right, it seems like. I don't see any loose chinks in the armor, so to speak.
Well, Therien's, Jim is making him move around before he can take his offense. Jim's strategy in placing the ball, he's either got Therien trying to get out of his own way to get a shot in, or having to take a step to his forehand to get some offense in. So Jim's just, I feel like he's got to be a little more consistent in his ball control with his blocks off Therien's opening offense, which you have to read the spin, you have to read the ball placement, put a little more pressure on Therien. Perhaps Jim will come out trying a little more offense on his own off of serve or third ball attack after your own serve, try to force a weak return and play some more offense. It just depends on which player is going to be consistently aggressive. If you can force the other player to take more risky shots, their percentage will go down. Or if you can take some offense and put more pressure on the other player, it's always a little of one and a little of the other. The first game, Jim was taking a little more offense and had good ball control off Therien's offense, blocking the ball consistently, well placed, putting Therien on his heels. In the second game, Therien came out, just was a little more aggressive, stayed consistent, and got through Jim's defense on several points, get a point or two lead, and sort of the avalanche comes down from there.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens here in game 3, locked up at 1-all. Jim Butler to serve first, 1-1.
Backhand smash, again, goes to this #1 weapon.
And again, that was a good third ball attack. He served, got a little bit of a weak return, and took the offense instead of being very passive. Now Therien's got the offense going a little bit better.
Interesting thing about Butler's game, you know, he's known for his backhand prowess, world-class backhand, but he has a forehand too. His forehand is no slouch. He just opts not to use it as much, and instead he prefers just that block, either a forehand or a backhand block a lot of times. But we haven't seen too much of the forehand here today.
You know, most players tend to just have not as strong a backhand as a forehand, so just your unconscious mind says, I need to go with this guy's backhand.
Yeah.
And stay away from the typical strength, which is the forehand. And it feeds a little bit into Jim's strength.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you just don't get as many chances with that forehand.
See, there you go. There's that forehand.
Yep.
You don't see it often, but like I say, there's nothing wrong with it that I can see.
Yeah. No, he was a little bit over the table with that, and a strong just forearm flip. But the main thing with that ball was not the power and the spin. It was the placement. It went way wide cross court to Therien. And that time Jim took the backhand into Therien. His forehand topspin aggressive shot into Therien's backhand caught him a little off guard. So Butler now with a little 3-0 lead, being a little more aggressive this game.
Therien also a veteran to Cary Cup. He came several years in a row, got to the quarterfinals once and possibly the semifinals another time. Never was in the final match, but certainly a very, very strong competitor.
At that point, we saw Therien open up with offense. Jim blocked the first ball. Therien just kept putting the offensive spins at Jim, and finally the block came a little bit high. Oh, that's a toasty backhand there.
Absolutely.
The ball was just a little bit too high and a little too short to the net, and Jimmy just crushed it with his backhand.
He's got that nuclear backhand going, there's no question.
Well, Jim's backhand is not an every shot offense. It takes a little bit of a weak return like that one from Therien, and then Jim's backhand will come in and just nail the ball.
Up a moon shot off to the end.
Edge of his racket.
Yep.
You just misread the timing enough. The stroke is generally vertical on the rackets, and if you misjudge it a little bit, it'll hit the edge of your racket. Therien, nice, good spinny ball. Not overpowering pace, but just a load of spin. Jim couldn't control it and keep the ball down.
All right.
Butler serving 5-3 with the serving a 2-point lead. If he can hold a serve or two of his, he'll keep that margin.
Tough to get concentration after you run into the barriers like that. Still a great effort.
But that's a very good point. Jim, in the middle of that point, Jim hit a ball right at Therien's body. Therien moved to his backhand and spun the ball in, and Jim absolutely painted the corner with his block way to Therien's forehand. But Therien, knowing it's coming now, tracked it down, got a good cross-court topspin point going, and finally prevailed in that point.
Very clever move here to conserve energy, too. You know, the barrier's tipped down. Instead of him picking them up and putting them in place, he says, no, that's not my job. Let the umps get up and do it. I'll get some energy, get my wind back here. I mean, why not? That's a smart way to do it.
Yep. That's right. Right now, it's almost like calling two boxers. Come on back to the middle of the ring, guys.
Yeah.
That last point was as long a one as we've seen, with more strokes than typical points. And that same strategy.
Interesting. He changed the spin on that last forehand. You see that?
Right.
Heavier top spin. Just enough to mess up Xavier. He sailed it a little bit long.
So Jim holding on to his 2-point lead.
Very clever, these 2600 level players.
Yes, they're. And strong and powerful and very good with the strategy.
I can do that.
Great serve by Therien.
Yep. Yeah. Therien's got some very good serves. We haven't really talked that much about him there, but he puts a lot of variability on him as well. Let's see what he dishes out here. Oh, I thought that hit. I guess not.
No, it sailed a little bit long. They're tied at 1-1 in games and 6-6 in points. So Therien had a good run, winning both of his serves.
I have a question for you. Why is it you don't see them put that much side spin on a serve?
I think sometimes they do. It's just very hard to recognize when you're watching on video the subtleties of the spin. Most players give you 2 or 3 motions with the racket, trying to disguise the point of contact and trick the spin. It's just very, very hard to pick up.
Yeah, maybe so. It seems like I see a lot more dead balls than I do the ones that have, you know, noticeable side spin effect. But you're probably right.
It's probably true. Most of the players are probably making a ball look like it's loaded with spin and give you a dead ball to try to trick you, or making it look like a dead ball and having that last little bit of wrist motion to load up the spin. Yeah. But Jim had 2 very, very good savvy serves in that last series, won both of his points on his serve, and then took the first one of Therien's and is now leading 9-6. Jim let that first game point slip away. Still got one more serve.
Yeah, he needs to put this away, get this game behind him. And there it is.
Oh, that's a very good serve. Had about 2 racket motions. You weren't ever sure which way the contact was. And Therien also hugging his backhand side, looking for a forehand. Got a very short serve to his forehand. Had to take a step over to his right, try to read the spin and reach for the ball, and just missed the serve. So that's very, very savvy play by Jim Butler.
Absolutely.
I think in that game, Jim Butler came out a little bit early with some offensive shots, trying to put a little bit of pressure on Therien, and was able to hold on at the end through some very, very good serves to pull that game out. So we're now seeing Therien talking to his coach, trying to figure out, okay, what's next? How can we win this next game, pull out the match? I don't know, but we see once again, you can't see it on camera, Therien is standing there talking to his coach, and if you go to the other corner, Scott Butler is sitting in a chair talking to
Jim Butler, yeah.
Yeah, Jim is sitting in the chair talking to his brother Scott, coaching him, so Jim's getting a little bit of downtime sitting.
Not a bad idea.
Trying to conserve every bit of energy that he can. I think over the years, Jim's such a tall and slender man that physically his body, knees and ankles and things had given him some trouble with orthopedics, and so he's trying to do the best he can. This tournament has been a grind so far. He had a couple of good wins in earlier rounds, and no matter what the normal people think about table tennis being a little bit of a sissy sport at this level, it's very, very athletic, very, very challenging physically, and Jim's taking every chance that he can. There he is, fanning himself off, taking a little rest during this game break.
Well, I'm glad we're downwind here, Jim. Or upwind, I should say. Sorry.
We're out of the direct flow, possibly.
Right.
All right, so we're coming at Jim Butler with a nice 2-game-1 lead. Let's see who can press the issue here early in game 4. Therien to serve first.
Just nipped the top of that net.
Went through Jim taking very good offensive shots, playing good position, and Therien is just young enough and experienced enough to get himself now in position for those shots, so he's not as flat-footed as he was in the first game.
You know, when you think of the inverted sponge games, top American players of all time, clearly Jim Butler's name's got to be amongst the list. Danny Seemiller, another. Eric Bogan, another. Possibly Sean O'Neill is another. I mean, of these 4 players, if you could hypothetically put them into the same time zone at their peak of their career, right, which do you think would be the best?
I hate questions like that.
I know.
You can make a case for any of the players, and as in most sports nowadays, the physical training and the techniques and all of that stuff are so brutal. Everyone does very, very well at it, and you get down to a point where it almost depends on which day it is.
Yeah.
One day Federer wins, the next day Nadal wins, the next day Djokovic wins. And table tennis is sort of the same. When you take players that have been at the top of their game in their country or in the world, it just depends on who has the best motivation that day, maybe who got the extra 30 minutes of sleep last night. I think it's very much a parity type of an issue.
Yeah. Wow, look here. We got a 5-0 advantage here with Therien.
Therien really opening up the offense right now. I can see Jim standing, getting ready to block the ball, and his timing is just a little bit off, or else Therien's ball is a little more severe or a little better placed. And he's taking the there's a good backhand by Jim Butler. Had Therien moving around the court, picked an open spot and just...
Yeah, that's classic Jim Butler there.
That is correct. We'll need to see about 5 more of those classic points in a row before Jim can tie this game. Therien out to a big lead, 6-1.
Oh! Well, what a juggernaut shot that was.
Just
right to the middle at about 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
Big forehand.
Therien playing a little bit loose this game, even though he's down a game. Jim hasn't been able to keep the level of pressure up. Good opening backhand spin.
You know, you can see that it had to be. Therien went to the corner there, and the coach said, play more aggressively, take it to him.
Yeah.
It seems like that's what's going on here.
Well, certainly this game for sure. And Therien loaded up with spin that time. He's got Jim to block a couple of balls too long, which means the spin is what was very severe rather than the speed or the placement on the ball. Jim taking a couple of wild whacks. This game's pretty much in the history books. Oh, great. Great forehand angle block by Jim Butler. But
absolutely.
And Therien, I think, complimented him on the shot, and he said, it's not going to matter at this point in the match. Therien taking that 6-point break, and Jim Butler just standing at the table, knowing probably this game's over.
Yeah, maybe. Sure would be a long way to come back. Oh, he gets the net dribbler. How about that?
Jim Butler had a great angle shot, and Therien just stretched over there and got it back, threw it up, and it caught the top of the net and just fell over for a winner.
Xavier saw the net and went for it.
And at this point, you never know whether Jim Butler just kind of throws in the towel in this game, makes Therien believe that, oh, I'm rolling now, I'll just go over this game. Maybe he comes out a little overconfident next game. Maybe Jim can sneak out another game. But it looks like an uphill struggle, even though Jim's got the one-game lead. It's going to be tied.
Well, the fatigue factor's got to be working too right about now. This is 4 games straight here of top-class table tennis. There it is.
And again, Jim having more trouble reading and controlling the spin than it is Therien beating Jim on reflexes and power. So we'll have to see if Jim can figure out how to adapt his control if Therien does come out with that same aggressive play in the next game.
Well, we're still tied in this exciting match, 2 games apiece. Xavier Therien from Canada, the number 2 seed in the North American Championship, against Jim Butler, all-time all-star of the United States Table Tennis Association, recently out of retirement and back in competitive play.
Therien was back out at the table a little bit early, anxious to get this thing going. Jim taking every second of rest that he can. And Jim to serve this time. We'll see how this 5th game starts out.
Lucky break there on the net.
But good ball control by both players. Therien's not opening too aggressively, and Jim had a couple of good control blocks that kept Therien out of his rhythm. Good play that time by Jim Butler. Controlled the ball, got a good block, got an opening, went for a big offensive shot. Therien was there and just looped the ball a little bit too low. In the last couple of games, Jim Butler has not been able to get Therien out of position as easily. It's a matter of whether Therien's going to make his next shot. Jim took a little bit of a chance on that backhand. It was a very well-placed low ball and didn't quite go in. Good point that time again. Therien taking the offense, but Jim Butler able to stay in control with well-placed blocks.
I don't see anything that Jim Butler's doing differently in these games. I mean, it seems like it's the same strategy from what I can tell. I mean, what's your observation on that? It's hard to say.
He's just, yeah, the subtleties in the game, I think he just comes out some games, his placement's a little bit better. He takes openings on offense at better times, which he did that point. He drove a ball deep into Therien's body. Got him crowded a little bit and had a little extra time to land his forehand, which won the point for him that time. But again, Therien managed to make it over to the shot. He just looped it a little bit long.
Notice how Jim's walking, taking the long route back to the table to give himself a little extra rest every time.
The long serve that time, Therien backed up just in time and was able to get a good forehand topspin loop into Jim's backhand. And again, the spin a little too severe for Jim to handle with his block. Each player trying to keep themselves loose.
Oh, unforced error right into the net.
A little too loose.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of nerve showing up. But there and again, taking what, to us looks like a pretty risky chance, but it actually worked out pretty well. Jim Butler has a 2-point lead with the serve. That ought to be a pretty good advantage. We'll see. That's a good point. Jim Butler played the point very nicely and took an opportunity again to jam Therien's body. Came out with a point. So Jim's playing a little more consistent this time. His placement's a little bit better, getting Therien out of position. And again, another one of those very, very tricky serves from Jim Butler. That time into Therien's backhand, tried to loop it, hit the net, goes long.
And he's enjoying a 4-point lead here, too. This is a game he needs to really focus on and get behind him. Doesn't need to let Xavier get an opportunity just to catch up here.
That time most players have been serving forehand serves. That's almost all you see. I think that's the first backhand serve we've seen in the match.
Yep.
And we'll see another one in a row. See if Therien has better luck with this one.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Jim's got to like it, though.
That's 2 missed serves in this game. And Jim out to just a almost insurmountable lead. You see comebacks from points like this once in a while, but not very often.
Yep. Not
with players at this level, this evenly matched.
When Jim goes back like that, 8 out of 10 times, he's not going to win the point.
Well, I was just going to comment, when Jim gets back like that, Therien's offense, when he has time to get his racket in position and take the shot that he wants, it's pretty much history for the guy in the backcourt.
Yeah, now's not the time for exhibition mode, that's for sure. 2 quick points by Xavier.
Again, Therien just working. Still hitting very powerful shots, but playing shot after shot after shot after shot until Jim finally misread a spin.
Yeah. Very wise timeout called by Coach Scott Butler.
Yeah, Therien's like the Energizer Bunny. He can keep those shots coming unless Jimmy can really put some extra power on his block or some really good position. And this game, I don't think Jim's positioning is worrying Therien as much as his power. Jim's moving the ball around the table, making Therien move a lot to get his shots, but he's not missing those shots. He's still getting to the ball, getting in position, and making a shot. Jim's just had advantage this game. Just little bitty subtleties in the game has gotten him this big lead. But he's seen Therien come back with 3 or 4 points in a row, and Jim doesn't want to give up 1 or 2 more points, make it really tight, and then let this game slip away. So it's, as you said, Mike, it's a very, very well-called and well-timed timeout. Give Jim a little bit of a breather, put a little extra pressure on Therien, come back, maybe get a couple of quick points, and put this game in the record books.
Therien hasn't even sat down once yet. He's opted to stand up every time there's been a timeout or in between games. I mean, credit to his athleticism, but my goodness, you would think he'd want to sit down just a little bit.
I think it's just that youthful adrenaline that keeps going.
He's sitting there jumping around right now. He's trying to loosen up. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Sometimes that helps get you your body loose and comfortable with the.
If I jumped around like that, something would break.
No comment. Oh, that's a great point by Jim Butler. Tried a very short block. It came up a little bit high, and Therien came in and put some heat on it, but Jim Butler was there with a quick block that caught Therien unaware. So,
well, Butler's a master of the angles, too. He can place that ball and just put it right where you don't want it to go. He's very, very skilled at that.
And there's Jim's backhand.
Yep.
Good, well-called timeout, 2 points in a row, finishes a game, puts it in the record books. And now Jim Butler's leading 3 games to 2. Jim needs only 1 more game to win the match. Pressure is really mounting on Therien because he has to win both games that are still upcoming in the match.
What an amazing upset this would be if Butler could pull it off against the number 2 seed. I mean,
yeah, I think it would make one person very happy and one person very sad.
You're probably right. Words of wisdom by Hall of Famer Jim McQueen and Mike Babuin here at Cary, North Carolina at the 2012 North American Championship at the Bond Park Community Center.
And here in this quarterfinal match, 1 player will move into the Final 4 and assure himself of a pretty decent payday. I think early in this game, clearly I think the pressure is on Therien to come out and try to play some aggressive shots, get some momentum going his own way. And if Jim Butler can stand there and control that power and get a little bit of a point or 2 or 3 lead, it'll put extra pressure on Therien. It makes you more nervous going for your shots, makes you a little more tentative. So we'll just see how it shapes up and comes down.
Yep.
Therien doesn't look that much in a panic. Therien already back out at the table.
Still, though, he's got to be thinking about it. He's down a game, and this is if Butler wins this game, it's all over with.
Right. He knows he has to win both of the upcoming games. So he's out trying to get himself loosened up. The more time Butler can make him wait in the court. Jim's hoping the jitters are going to take over Therien. Both players have been in positions like this over and over and over again, so it may not have as much impact as we're making out.
I'm just getting worn out watching him jump around.
It's tiring. All right, Therien to serve first, game 6. Wonderful play by Jim Butler.
Absolutely.
He jammed the ball right into Therien's body. He's just a master at it.
It's a big first point there.
And again, we would call that kind of a mini break. Therien serving and Butler winning the point.
Oh, what a shot.
Very good play by
Amazing.
Jim Butler. Inside out, powerful shot, then a drop shot, moving Therien in and out like a yo-yo.
That's experience there for you.
That's exactly right.
Muy inteligente.
So Therien now down 2 points on Butler serve. Butler serve still giving people trouble.
Oh, two blistering
very
backhand smashes.
Right in a row. So Jim Butler playing a very, very savvy early in this 6th game, taking a 3-0 lead. Made a very good serve, got a little bit of passive return, and punched 2 backhands right at Therien to finally win the point. So now Therien's having to call his timeout,
Yep.
which is very good. You're in a little bit of trouble. You're getting into a pattern that's not working for you. You need to take a timeout, think things over, calm down, rather than let the lead get any further out of control.
And Jim gets to have that chair for another 2 minutes here. Conserving energy very wisely. Thinking about what he needs to do from this point onward.
Yeah, at this point, Jim Butler is taking a rest, sitting down. His coach, Scott Butler, is not saying a word. Jim is just focusing on himself, staying very quiet. All the conversation is going on between Therien and his coach. And you never know, sometimes when the coach tells you so much stuff, it confuses you. Most times a coach needs to give you one piece of decisive advice. Go out and do that. If you come in with too many ideas, sometimes you're thinking about too many options instead of focusing on that one important thing.
Yep. See, it's easy. Just hit the ball on the table. That.
And hope that the other guy doesn't re-loop it or put it out of your reach.
That's it.
So far this game, Jim's been just able to position the ball to keep Therien from taking big offense, and Jim's been able to take advantage with the big backhand fast blocks. There's that backhand again, but that one I think caught the top of the net and went long.
Jim tried to punch it to the other end of the court there, but just didn't quite connect proper.
Well, Jim's backhand block is just a very, very flat shot. It doesn't have spin on it to get the ball to pull itself down once it crosses the net. So his timing has to be very, very precise with that shot. And that time, the time before, it just barely caught the top of the net. Ball's traveling so fast it just springs way off and looks like a bad shot, but it only was off by a fuzz. Jim Butler gets in the first offense with his forehand, and Therien tried to counter loop it too quick and missed it. So Butler up by 2. Therien's cut into that 3-point deficit by 1. Butler's still a little bit in the driver's seat, serving with a 2-point lead. Good view of Jim's service preparation. And Therien got a good return there right down the middle of the table, and Jim tried to lift that ball up from down low, and the ball went a little bit too far to the side. That time Jim gave Therien a ball down the forehand side that was long, looked a little bit easy, but I think Jimmy had put a little extra spin on it. So when Therien took what he thought was an easy forehand, the spin overwhelmed the shot a little bit, and he missed it.
Yeah, he looped it right over to the ump.
Just about. So Therien down 2 at 3-5. Again, Jim, with that quick backhand
Amazing.
right into Therien's body, makes him lean way over backwards and try to loop that ball out of his forehand. Jimmy is just a master at making the ball awkward for his opponent to get to or do anything with. And that was a perfect example.
Reminds me of somebody else.
Maybe at a lower level. Good serve by Therien, got Jimmy a little bit off.
Oh, what a great forehand by Butler.
That's a wonderful, wonderful forehand. That's as big a shot as we've seen off Jim's forehand, and he had Therien way in the backcourt. Ball came to his forehand. He knew exactly what he had to do and did it perfectly. 7-3 for Jim Butler.
4 points away from closing out this match at 40+ years of age. Jim Butler against Xavier Therien from Canada, the #2 seed. Well, it looks like somebody popped a ball on the court. Jim will slowly go over there and take his time back to the table and get a couple more breaths in and continue onward. Here we go.
And hope that the stress gets to his opponent.
Yeah. Oh, what a
wow,
backhand.
that's a well-played point.
Wow. Wow. That was moving, I'll tell you.
And then that backhand just opened up a gash and then finished it off. But Therien's a little bit afraid of Jim's forehand because of what he did the point before.
Yeah.
That time Therien got the better of the forehand exchange.
Well, it looks like we got a little bit of a towel break here. Folks, remember, put it on your calendar. Friday, March 15th through Sunday, March 17th, 2013 is the 2013 Cary Cup Championship here at Bond Park Community Center in Cary. $18,000 worth of prize money. Oh,
There's
wow.
that backhand
Amazing.
serve by Therien. That time it paid off. Therien stumbled a little bit in the midcourt, but came back in, able to put away the high ball that Jim Butler gave him unwittingly, or maybe Therien forced him to give him that shot. Therien back to within 3, 5-8.
This is a key shot here for both players. Oh.
And there you saw Therien loop a ball right at Jim Butler's body and
Yep.
couldn't make a choice between forehand and backhand. That's always a very good strategy. Come straight at the player. That time Therien used Jim Butler's strategy. And now he's back to within 2. Jim Butler serving ahead 8-6.
Again,
But
key point here. How about that? Butler advances to the table and smashes a winner.
sometimes that ball, when it hits the net, it slows down, pops up a little bit, and is actually easy for the opponent, even though you get the, quote, lucky shot. And that was one of those examples when Therien's ball came to the net slowed it down, made the ball land shallow on the table. Jimmy came in and put it away. So Jim 2 points away from the match, serving at 9-6. Let's serve that time, we'll do it over.
How about that?
Wow,
Therien misses
what's
the easy
been,
one. Wow.
You never know whether the ball might have had a little moisture on it. Jim Butler gave him kind of a nothing ball stroke on that. And sometimes when there's no spin on the ball, your racket doesn't have anything to bite against, and the ball will just spray off very unpredictably from your racket. And that's what happened to Therien that time. Now, Therien serving, though, but he's facing 4 match points against him. So the glimmer of hope has almost disappeared, but we'll see what he can do. Good aggressive stroke by Therien.
Butler just needs one more point to pull out a major upset here over the #2 seed in this tournament.
We don't expect Therien to give him that point. He's going to have to earn it somehow.
Oh, he went for it,
wow.
But it just didn't connect.
Again, Therien being aggressive, getting the spin balls well placed to Jim Butler.
Double match point.
So he saved 2 match points with very, very good play. Jim went for everything on that last backhand punch down the middle of the table, and it just went a little bit long. But Therien did a nice job keeping the ball deep on the table to Jim, where that backhand's more difficult to do. Now we'll see if Butler has 1 or 2 tricky serves that we haven't seen yet that may give Therien some trouble. You like being in a position like this, match point on your serve. Jim has 2 chances to close it out. Oh, Jim missed 2 backhands. That one just missed short on the side. Therien's held off 3 points, got 1 more to go.
This is a cliffhanger here. This is probably the single most important point of the match coming up. Important for both players for different reasons.
Right. Oh, good forehand exchange. There's Jim's backhand.
Oh,
wow.
Right into the net. Wow.
Man.
And we're a deuce in the, wow. Unbelievable play.
Deuce in the 6th.
Yep.
So Xavier Therien has saved 4 match points, 2 on his serve, 2 against Jim's serve. Jim had a couple of opportunities for big backhands. Maybe he went for too much, but you never know. So we're back at deuce. So now Jim Butler's one pacing around a little bit in the backcourt trying to gather his composure. I'm sure Therien's very relieved. See where the pressure adds up.
Advantage, Butler.
Really, really good topspin counter by Jim Butler off Therien's opening forehand. That's a shot that we've seen Jim Butler carry a little bit long. Time and time again. That time he landed it. Wonderful response to the pressure. So Jim Butler on his own serve has his 5th match point. I bet if he's got a serve we haven't seen, we're going to see it now. A little extra time.
Back to 11-11 in game 6.
So you know Jim Butler's been giving him the best serves he's had, and Therien's responded very nicely. Good ball control, good aggressive play. Jim Butler taking a little extra time. Therien getting his serve ready. And it's a let serve. We'll have a do-over. Oh, Therien well played that time. Got a little bit of a pop-up on Jim Butler's service return, and Therien just looped everything he had with that forehand right into Jim Butler's body. Again, Jim is so tall, if you go wide to his forehand or backhand, he can usually reach the ball. But right at the body, it's a tough place to play.
Oh, and there it is, folks.
And Therien saves a miraculous game, saving 5 game points to pull out the game 13-11. Very solid performance late in the game by Xavier Therien over Jim Butler. And you know that puts an extreme amount of disappointment in Jim Butler's heart. We'll have to see if he can come back. Jim had the big lead Xavier took it away from him. So we'll see how the 7th game in this 7-game match plays out when we get back to the action in just a moment. Well, in the first point of the last game of this match comes out Jim Butler whiffs a loop. May still be suffering from a little bit of the disappointment of the last game, having it as close to in your pocket as you could want and having it slip away or taken away from you. Good play by Jim Butler, trying to block hard, get Therien in the backcourt, then drop shot to yo-yo Therien in and out. Finally, Jim prevailed in that point. But anytime you try a drop shot, if it comes a little bit too deep, Therien's quick enough, he's going to come in and take a powerful offensive shot at it. So it's a little bit of a risky strategy, but again, it's Jim again going for consistency and placement instead of power. Have a let serve there, locked up, 3 games to 3 games, 1 point to 1 point. Therien with the serve. Nice deceptive serve straight down the forehand line, making Jimmy reach very far up close to the net, pulling him a little bit out of position. And again, there's another one of those flat backhands by Jim Butler, catching the top of the net and going just a little bit long. So Therien now a little bit in control, leading 1-3 on Jim Butler's serve. Good tricky serve. Therien trying to do that swiping forehand inside out, falls low into the net. Butler serving again, down by 1. Jim, I think, got the ball he wanted, a little bit of a high return to his backhand and overhit it, missing, going down 2-4. Now taking that 6-point break. Both players doing a little extra pacing around, trying to calm themselves down and hoping that it puts a little extra pressure on the other. But they're now in the driver's seat a little bit, serving at 4-2. And Jim, big offensive shot early in the point, followed by 2 big backhands.
It's hard to come back from that, traveling at that speed. That was classic Jim Butler.
The umpire flipped that card over very, very slowly, hoping he was right. That backhand was so fast he wasn't certain that it hit, but it did, and we're locked up at 4. So Jim Butler taking both points off there in serve to get us into a draw here.
What reflexes?
Again, good.
Amazing.
Good hands by Jim Butler. Big forehand, followed by the backhand snapping block. And Jim Butler goes up 5-4. Bring it 5 points in the last possible game of a match. Players switch ends, just in case there's any difference in the court conditions or the lighting, that there's equal time playing under the conditions for each player. So Jim Butler, a little bitty lead.
A
little
nice shot.
edge ball by Jim Butler again. Good, quick backhand off the bounce. I think our screen had the score wrong at 5-all. It was really 5-4. Now it's 4-6. Therien serving to Jim Butler. That serve, Therien again, very close to the net. When you have that many serves that hit the net, you know when his usual serve goes over, it's very low clearance, making it very difficult to attack. Jim Butler taking big offense forehand off Therien's serve. We haven't seen him do that but a time or two in the match.
And he's now 4 points away from closing this match out.
We said that last game.
We did, didn't we? We're sure this time, though.
We better be careful. We hope we're correct this time out. Oh, Jim Butler again with the quick forehand followed by the fast backhand. Really unusual strategy. Therien hasn't expected that opening forehand offense aggressiveness from Jim Butler, but Jim has taken a little bit of a chance in those 2 shots, and it paid off both times. So Jim Butler, with some very smart, aggressive, savvy playing, has gotten Therien a little bit into a hole again. We'll see if he can dig himself out for the second time. And there are other matches going on in our venue here, and somebody had a very exciting point and was yelling, so Jim Butler took a little self-imposed timeout.
Now he's 2 points away.
Jimmy again with that big backhand. Jim's opened up some very aggressive shots with his forehand. Finished the point off with the quick backhand blast all over the court. Jim's up 5, 9-4. Ooh, that forehand went a little bit long, so it's not perfect. And Therien now down 5-9, but serving. Again, that very close timing serve, right? Clipping the net, falling over. Have to do it again. Jim Butler taking a little bit of extra time. Okay. See if Jim Butler will take the aggressive shot early in this point. Therien again moving quickly, jackrabbit across the court with forehands. Jim controlled 2 of them. The third one got away from him. Therien had plenty of time to calculate where he wanted to put that shot. Went into Jimmy's backhand with heavy spin. Jimmy blocked it long. Pulled within 3, 6-9. And that was a very well-placed touch shot by Jim Butler there, and had to reach for the ball a little bit and pushed it a little bit long off the end of the table. So now here we are again. Jim Butler, 4 match points But this time Jim has the first two serves. Ahead 10-6, first match point. And Jim's serve barely got over the net. A little extra pressure building on him, even though he's up the 4 match points. Again. Here you go, Jim got back off the table again. Usually the player in control of the table is going to have the advantage. Jim Butler backed off the table and lost a point. Oh, Jim Butler, great serve down the forehand, caught there and unaware, he whiffed the loop. Wonderful match. Jim Butler prevailing in 7 games after how many? 4, 5, 6, 7 match points. Jim Butler finally pulled one out, but he had to earn every one of those match points to get in that position. Well played strategic match by Jim Butler over a much younger and experienced player, Xavier Therien of Canada.